Hello everyone, this is a wide snowboard video, wide snowboard versus regular video. How else can I say it? There's everything. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this video is because a lot of people have been asking me questions about, should I get a wide snowboard, should I not get a wide snowboard, things like that, right? What size, or should you get a wide snowboard for a size 10, for a size 11, for a size 12, for a size 13 snowboard, right? What width, what dimensions, right? Because some people have bigger feet. So here I'm going to show you my wide board test. Do you need a wide board or not? So I have a size 13 boot in the Burton step-ons. This is a Burton step-on 13 with a large binding and the Gilson Duel. If you haven't heard of Gilson, I'll put a link down below. So my experiment down below is I took a flat table and I put my bindings on it, and I put my bindings on my board and my boots in, and then I took them and I rotated them up to the point, if you imagine the table being the slope, and your boot's gonna boot out at some point. And a boot out is when your toes will start touching or your heels will start touching. Because if you boot out, what will happen is your board will go out from underneath you, you'll land on your face, or it'll go out and you'll land on your back, right? So that's what's a boot out called, right? So I wanted to see how far I could go with my snowboard on a safe, me just doing it, to see how far I would go, right? And I got to the point where I'm almost vertical. So I'm not worried about vertical because either one, I'm going to have to be doing what's called a Euro carve, where I'm almost like Ryan, I can't remember what his last name is, that has a ton of videos. He can do a Euro carve by putting his sleeve down, and he's really good at it. I admire the guy, but he does a Euro carve, and that's where your toes would actually start touching the ground and your board actually coming off of the ground. As far as vertical though, you're not going to reach a point of vertical too much, maybe on a landing of a jump. Otherwise than that, if you are vertical, you're actually going to be going straight down. You're going to be jumping, whatnot. So that being said, you can use this test on your own board to see if you're booting out, if your board's too narrow. So narrow versus wide snowboard, right? Or regular versus wide. So here's the numbers that I came up with. On the Gilson Duel, right, it is 300, so when they have the measurements, so you're going to have tip or tail, doesn't matter, and you're going to have a waist width. What they don't give you is where your boots hang out, right? So that's why I did this also. I had Arbor Draft. I'll put a video on the end of this. I bought a wide one of these and it was too wide. There was an extra inch and I didn't like it because it was almost like a surfboard. I had so much board and that ended up being more weight than I wanted. And the more weight you have, maybe fine if you're in powder, but when it came to doing rails and jumping and spinning, I didn't like it. I wanted to, that's why I ride. So if you want to know what my dimensions are, I am 6'3", 216 pounds, and wear a size 13 boot. Last year I was 230 pounds. I've lost weight since last year, so it's been nice. With that being said, I ride a 154, so I can ride switch, and I can also ride, do spins, do rails, do boxes and things like that. So I was riding an Arbor Draft 151. So I've ridden a 151 and a 154, and I have no problem with it. I'm not doing a lot of carving. If I wanted to do a lot of carving, obviously a 158, a 160 board would be more of those. It's up to you on how you ride, what kind of conditions you ride in. I don't have a lot of powder. If I had a lot of powder, I would go and find a powder board that maybe is wider. But here's the dimensions that you need. Well, here's the dimensions that I have. Okay, so on the Arbor Draft, I have a boot out video where I actually put the GoPro on, and you can see the binding actually grinding through the snow. That being said, one trick you can do with your bindings, right, is you'll get a set of discs like these, right? And what you want to do, what I noticed was, when I actually did my test, was that I could actually move my boot side is actually needed to be further, because my boots or my toes would actually catch less than my boots or my heel side. Sorry, my heel side, I could actually move the disc to the furthest point back. And I'm going to double check that as we're talking right now. So yeah, what I did was I looked at it, my binding, and you can move your binding. Yeah, I moved the disc so that the heel would, hold on, let me get the boots out. Love these Burton step-ons, by the way. So yeah, I moved the disc. If you can see this, I moved the disc from the first hole, which I thought it should be on, all the way to the back hole, because I don't need and I found that out after doing that test that I did. I don't need my heel so much, or I don't need my toe so much, because of the angle of this kick pad that they have here. So that toe kick helps your boot from not touching the ground as much. The heels are shaved on Burtons, and these are the Burton step-ons. So with that being said, I don't need to put that in. What I did was I checked the measurements on my boards on this. So first thing you want to do is make sure your discs are pushed to that point on the end, right? And so that your toes are the furthest in, or your toes are furthest to the point, and your heels are not, right? So if you back that heel up, so here's the measurements, right? This board is 12 inches on tip and tail, 10 1/4 in the center inches, right? And I'll give you the metric in a minute. And then 10 1/2 where my boots are, right? I don't have my Arbor Draft with me, otherwise I would measure that one where the feet are. Otherwise, this is 344 millimeters at tip and tail, 260 at the waist. And then at my boots, it's 266 millimeters, 266.7. So with a size 13, I need a 266 or a 265 millimeter at where my toes are, waist width, which is in the center, right? I need a minimum of 260 with a 13. So you're going to be in that range. Now here's my Arbor Draft 151, which is a narrower board. That was 290 at the tip, 248 at the waist, and 290 at the tail, right? So with these being symmetrical boards, they will be tip and tail same, right? But that one was a little thin. So for a size 13, 248 millimeters or 9.78 inches is going to be, you may have problems with that, what I've experienced. Disclaimer, everyone's different. I don't know. Do the boot test that I did and see how that works for you. But obviously you need to be between 9 and, like 240 to 260 for a probably 11 to a 13 inch boot for snowboarding with a wide. You need that. Don't worry about wide, right? Because this is not even a Gilson wide. This is just a 154. They make a wide. I don't even need the wide, right? So check the waist width when you're looking at boards, and if it says, if it says that it's under 248 or around 248, you might need to be in a 250 range to 260 range. And also check your bindings and your boots to see how they work. My best test was doing what I did. So if you buy your stuff, bolt on your bindings, do it on a table that you can see with a camera, and see how far you can get vertical before it stops you, or go rent it and see what happens. But I recommend, obviously, with a 13, I need to be at 260, where my bindings are at 266, I like. So that being said, 340 at the tip and tail, or 304 at the tip and tail. So those are the measurements. I still ride my Arbor Draft, which is only 248, and it's a little narrow. but it all depends on how extreme the hills you're also going down. If you're not getting to that point where you're leaning that far, you're not going to have too much booting out. So that wraps up my wide snowboard video experiment, whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to help as many people experience what I do, which is the joy of snowboarding. So please comment down below if you have any questions about wide snowboarding. Also subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep on doing videos for you. All right, till